Hello and welcome to number 2 of our Power Up Your Semester series. I work in the Student Success Resource Center for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences here at the University of Northern Colorado. And today we are going to talk about how to power up your project and task management. And this does build a little bit on the first episode of this series, which is on Power Up Your Planning. So definitely check that out. We'll put the link in the bio, but here we go. So the goals kind of for today when we're talking about powering up our project and task management is really how to plan your projects out so you're able to make some progress, you understand your deadlines, your checkpoints, and you're kind of working on it to help combat some of that procrastination and feeling overwhelmed. We're going to talk about how specifically you can make progress in your projects and tasks, and we're going to talk about what tools can help you get there. So first step in powerful project management is going to be preparing for the projects. And so we have 3 questions that you can answer to really get those projects ready, kind of power up your timeline. And so your first step is always going to be answering these 3. And that's, when is the project due? Right, so we got to look at the syllabus, look at Canvas, think about if it's a work project or a personal project. Figure out, when is it due? When do you need or want to be done with it? Second, you got to identify what is involved. What are the tasks and the steps, all the little sub things that have to happen for you to actually finish that project or the task. And then last, we got to figure out and kind of estimate how long we need. In this last one, it is about kind of learning and knowing yourself as well in the type of task and project, because some things are just going to take us longer because maybe it takes a little bit longer for you to read than it is to write. Maybe it depends on the class. Some classes you might have had that professor before or that topic before, and so things go a little faster because you know more about it than a class you have never been introduced to before. So these are the 3 questions that we really want to think about to create a powerful kind of project management plan as that first step. So let's go through an example. So with planning, right, we want to start with the due date, and we're actually going to work backwards across the week. And so when you made your power planning, you went through, right, and we figured out, okay, what were my time sensitive, my time specific events? Those were the exam dates, the project due dates, the work events, the things that cannot be moved. We built them into our power plan first. So when you pull up, right, your power plan, you see, okay, I have this project due, at the end of the week. You can work backwards and you can block out some of that time in your power plan itself. So let's kind of answer this with a scenario. Question 1, right? When is the project or the task due? So let's say we have a quiz that is actually due on Friday at 1 p.m. Make sure you take that extra step to check when it's actually due. Don't assume it's going to be midnight because things change. And so check for every class, every assignment, every exam, quiz, that you actually look and write down the time that it is due. So that way you don't miss anything, you don't lose out on any of those late, penalty points. So our quiz is due Friday at 1 p.m. We got it in our power plan. So question 2, identifying what specifically is involved in that project or that task. Right, so for me to be successful in the quiz on Friday, I need to read chapter 2, because that's what my quiz is over, and I need to complete my notes summary. And the note summary is actually a worksheet that the Student Success Resource Center has on their website to help you kind of really process and create a 1-page summary sheet of your chapters, your lectures. It's just a great opportunity to really capture that information, those key points, one neat little page to help you with studying and processing and practicing later. So for me to be successful and powerful in my quiz Friday, I have to read the chapter that it's on, and I got to create my notes summary sheet for it. And then question 3, how long do I need? Well, this chapter is a bit long. It's on a new topic, so I know I need at least 2 hours to get through the chapter of reading and like half an hour to really fill out my summary sheet, review any terms I didn't understand, reread any paragraphs as I'm trying to fill that out. So in total, right, I know on Friday at 1 p.m. is the quiz. That's when it's due, which means I need to take it a little bit before, right? I know I need to read a whole chapter, and that's going to take me about 2 hours. And then I need to do my summary sheet so I understand the topic, the material, and I'm ready for the quiz. That's going to take another half an hour. So when we're working backwards, we're literally looking at the calendar and kind of blocking out the time we identify for each of those tasks. So Friday is when the quiz is due. Even though it's due at 1 p.m., I'm going to tell myself that it's due at like noon, for example. So that way I get it done in case there's any issues, it's taken care of. So if it's due on Friday, that means, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, I all have tasks to kind of spread out. So I'm going to start my reading for this quiz on Tuesday, and I'm only going to read for an hour, try to get through the first half of the chapter because it's just really dense. It's actually a little bit better if we can break up our work and re-engage with the material over multiple days as an extra way to process that information and kind of study along the way rather than sort of reading it all in one big session. By the end, we're going to be burned out. We're probably not going to really get the information and then having to like cram right before. So Tuesday, I'm going to read for 1 hour, 1 hour done. Wednesday, I'm going to read for another hour, right? And that will get all of my reading done. I had estimated it would take about 2 hours for me to read. So I spread those 2 hours out over Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday is when I'm going to actually review the material and complete my summary. So about half an hour, I'll schedule into my power plan and my flex time. Flex time, right, being the ways and the places we fill in the gaps in between our time-specific events like the quiz and our self-care events. And all together, we have that 2.5 hours we estimated. And now I'm ready for the quiz without, taking up too much time and kind of getting through it, spreading it out over the week so it's manageable, it's not overwhelming, and I'm actually engaging with the information and the material over multiple days and kind of really learning it throughout the week. So that is just kind of big picture. A key thing to prepare for your projects is just making your kind of mini power plan on how you're going to get that task or project done. Work backwards from when it's due, estimate how much time you need for all of the subtasks, and then count it out and start early. And so this is a really good, example of how to break out your projects. So the big picture, main takeaway in powerful project management is identifying and planning the time that you actually need to do it. And if you take that, step nice and early to figure out, okay, what is going to be my mini plan for the project, then you can break it up over multiple days. It'll be a little easier to manage multiple projects, right? All of your classes at the same time, because you might have 2 classes with a due date, both on Friday. And so by breaking it into 1 hour for this class on Tuesday, another hour for your second class on Tuesday, and same with Wednesday, breaking it up, you'll get both projects done by Friday and kind of be more powerful, prepared, and engaged with the material because you worked on it a little bit every single day. All right, so now that you kind of have your power plan for your projects in place by working backwards from the due date, giving yourselves the time that you need for that type of task, let's talk about progress strategies. So how can we actually keep track of the progress we're making on these projects and get all the way through them? And the first one that we're going to talk about is time blocking as a strategy. And then the second strategy is going to be task switching. Now, time blocking, in a nutshell, is just designating periods of time for specific tasks. And there's a few ways that you could block out your time that way. And as we talked about in the power planning session, you could use your digital, your calendar app to actually block out and say, okay, this is what I'm going to use for class 1. Set a reminder, your phone, your computer can alert you to it. Otherwise, You can block out, that time frame using something like color coding, and telling yourself, okay, during this block of time, here's what I'm working on. Now, within your time blocks, you could be a lot more flexible. So flexible is where you say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to work on X and I'm going to work on Y. So your block is pretty big. You have 2 or 3 things that you want to accomplish in that block, but it's just a little more flexible on when you work on it, kind of within the morning, and how you start those projects. If flexible and kind of having that too broad of time, isn't quite your style, you could be a lot more structured in your time blocking. And so a much more structured time block would be, okay, from 9 to 10, I'm going to work on X. So you say, this is the hour, I'm going to do this. And you set your alarm, or whatever other kind of cues that help you. And then you work on X. And then from 10 to 10:30, that's when you're going to go, grab a snack at the Commons. You're going to make breakfast, get your coffee. But okay, 10 to 10:30 is your kind of rest, recharge, eating block. And then 10:30 to noon, you're going to work on Y. So kind of the main difference between the flexible is a way bigger block, something like this morning, here's the 3 things I need to accomplish, but you let yourself kind of do it as you feel inspired to. Whereas the structured, you actually identify this hour is dedicated to this task, this half hour is dedicated to this task, and you can go through your whole day like that. If you really are a fan of structured time blocking, again, one of these pre-printed styles of planner might be really beneficial for you, because often they are going to have the times blocked out and written for you already on the day. Whereas some other types of planners, or if you use a bullet journal, that's going to be a lot more time for you to fill in. So kind of think about, do you like more flexible blocks of time, or do you really do better if you structure it out and set alarms and reminders for the tasks you're going to work on? Another thing we're going to get into with time blocking is what we call Pomodoro. And so this can kind of be nested within both flexible and structured time blocks. But the big thing with the Pomodoro is sort of deciding how many Pomodoro sessions you're going to work on something. So you could say, instead of 9 to 10, you might say, okay, this morning I'm going to do 2 sessions of Pomodoro for class 1 or for activity X. Now I want to get into Pomodoro a bit more. And so this technique, the big picture is you're going to have very focused time where you're working on a task for a set session. And so usually it's going to be 20 to 25 minutes. Don't take your Pomodoros too much more than that. Kind of stick with that nice 20 to 25 minute mark. And so you set a timer for your 20-minute session. And during those 20 minutes, you are working on the task that you decided, you outlined. So you are reading for 20 straight minutes, trying to be very focused, very intentional. Or you are going to write for 20 straight minutes on your paper, or you're going to study your flashcards for 20 straight minutes. And the Pomodoro can be really helpful if you feel, overwhelmed by the thought of like, I have to study for 2 hours, like, ooh, which 2 hours is a very long study session. So instead, it feels a little bit better to say, okay, I'm going to commit to 3 Pomodoros of studying. It's just 20 minutes each. So just take it 20 minutes at a time, especially if you start to feel overwhelmed. 20 minutes, you got this. And then after your Pomodoro's up, so after the 20 focus minutes, then you take a 5 to 10 minute break, walk around, do some stretches, watch a quick YouTube video, whatever it is. But once that 10-minute timer ends, you start your second Pomodoro session or your next one. And so then you do another really focused 20 minutes. This is the thing that you are working on. You're making progress. And so you can measure and decide on your progress for your different tasks and projects in Pomodoro measurements, instead of trying to commit like it's going to be an hour. You can instead say, I know I need 3 Pomodoros to do this. And then 1, 2, 3, you knock out your sessions. The other thing that you can do is called task switching, as far as kind of how you're making progress on these projects. So whereas time blocking, you said, okay, I am just working on this task for this set amount of time. Task switching is a lot more fluid and can be really great if your brain kind of likes to go in different ways, or if your work is very connected in parallel. So a task switching, right? You might be reading. So you start out, I'm reading my chapter, and as I'm reading, I realize, oh my gosh, this is important for the paper that's coming up. That's going to be due next week. So I actually stop the task of reading. I switch, I open up my paper, my computer, my Word document, and then go ahead and add that information that I just read and the citation, the sources to my paper. And so I finish that task, and then I go back to reading. And then maybe I'm reading some more, and it goes, ooh, the lecture was just posted. If you get to have like recorded lectures, for example. And so you might read, the first part, stop the task of reading, switch to the task of listening to the lecture through kind of that topic you just read, stop listening to the lecture, go back to reading, read kind of the next section, and then go back, listen to the lecture for that next section as they're talking about it. And so the big kind of picture of task switching is really you're doing connected kind of tasks. And so you don't want to task switch between your classes. You don't want to like completely shift gears and change topics. Keep it related. And I find it really efficient when I'm writing papers to, okay, as soon as I read something or I hear something in the lecture, or I get information that I know I need in my paper, I just stop that task, put it on pause, switch over to my paper task, write that paragraph or that sentence, add that citation real quick, and then, stop, save, close that, go back to reading. So you might try task switching within your classes, but again, do not recommend sort of reading, stop, read for a completely different class, unless they're super connected and related. Now, kind of a sub strategy if you're going to be doing task switching, but you could do the sticky note method regardless if you're doing time blocking. But this is really to help you actually track the progress, and is especially helpful if you're a task switcher. So the sticky note method basically gives you a visual of all of the tasks that you're working on, so you can really keep track of where they're at. So you want to choose a few different colors of sticky notes and kind of designate them for task type. So first you'll go through, on a weekly basis, let's say Sundays at 2 p.m. is when you open up Canvas. You're going to look at all of your syllabus and see what are the tasks and projects that I need to do this week. And so then you're going to write them all out on a sticky note, one sticky note per task. So if you have readings, maybe that's purple. That's going to be your purple sticky notes. And so you write, okay, chapter 2 for class 1. I need to read chapter 4 for class 2, and so on. And so you put all of your purple reading sticky notes on the wall. And then you're going to look through and say, okay, I have some quizzes and discussion posts. Let's say those are yellow sticky notes. Go through, okay, I have a quiz on this chapter. I have to do a discussion post here, write down the due dates for them. Those all go on a sticky note. Boom, you have all your yellow discussion posts and quiz sticky notes on the wall. And then maybe you have some personal projects or tasks that you need to do. Those could be orange sticky notes. Boom, put those on the wall. And then maybe you have your larger kind of paper or project sticky notes. Let's say those are pink. And you'll write down all the tasks related to the different projects you have. So once you have your sticky notes written out, you're going to line them up on like the wall or your desk, a table, the back of your door, just somewhere that is really visual and you can move them around. You might need a little piece of tape to make sure that they stick. And so you want to line them up with a to-do section, an in-progress section, and a done section. So, Sunday at 2 p.m. when you're going through all your Canvas shells and your syllabi, you're writing your sticky notes, they're all going to go in your to-do section. And this can be a little overwhelming at first, seeing all the tasks that you have, but now you know everything is there. It's a lot less likely for you to miss or skip something because you have them written out and visualized. And it can be really rewarding to see, right, this really big list kind of shrink as you go down. And so kind of the next step as you start working on it you're going to move the sticky note, boom, to the in progress section. And then once you finish it, you move it to the done section. And that's how you can kind of really visualize and keep track of things. And this sticky note method can be really helpful when you are task switching, because you can remember, okay, I was reading, that's in progress. Oh, and I found some sources and citations for my paper. So now that sticky note's in progress. So it just helps make sure you don't kind of forget things. And it's a really quick way to look and see, okay, what things are still in progress? Haven't I quite finished up yet? What things do I still need to start? How do I need to plan my flex time to get through all of the sticky notes that I have? Now, the big thing to remember, no matter how you're organizing your time or making your progress tracking, is that multitasking is not real, not really real. And so you want to plan out and protect time for you to focus on one task. So if you're using time blocking, right, you decide this 45-minute block is specifically for this one task. If you're using task switching, you're saying, okay, I am solely focused on this one task. I'm going to stop this task for a few minutes. I'm going to start this new task because it's something very related. I'm going to do that only for a few minutes. I'm going to stop that task, go back to my first task. So the big difference between multitasking and task switching is you're recognizing I am focusing only on one task at a time. I'm just jumping around because there's some information that related, and I can make some progress on everything in that hour. Whew. So we have some tools to help you. Really big on tools. Anytime you're starting new habits and strategies, it's of course important that you use the tools and resources to help get you there, to clear the path, make sure that your elephant and your rider are really moving forward. And so the Student Success Resource Center website has tons of free success guides and templates for you to download and give it a shot. We also have a YouTube channel that explains all of the worksheets. And so we're going to go through two examples that you might find extra helpful. One is our project management worksheet, and the other is our study schedule worksheet to really help you plan out your project and task and study schedule management.
Hey Bears, this video walks through our project management worksheet as an example. So let's say I have a research paper and I'm looking at the impacts of social distancing on Hollywood. So first, I need to make sure to get all the due dates in line from the syllabus and what my instructor said. So I have like a draft one on the 29th, another one on the 12th, and then the final paper due. Now, if you're working in a group, make sure to get your group members' names and contact information down as well. This worksheet is best if you fill it out at your first meeting. Now we're just identifying the tasks that need to be completed. So try to brainstorm and write down all the major sections and items that need to be done, and then you can divvy up the work to keep it equal and fair. Now, since writing things like the intro and conclusion tends to be a little shorter than writing full sections, you can see how member one is actually going to work on the PowerPoint as well. After you have all the tasks completed, you just want to set an actual timeline. It can help with procrastination and just make sure everybody is accountable. If you're not working in a group, you would just fill this out with your own deadlines to keep yourself accountable. Now, looking at the calendar and thinking ahead to the due dates, we want to have these check-ins and the things done a couple days before it's actually due in class to give yourself and your team time to refine and adjust. Then we just want to make sure to identify how we're going to check in, whether it's a Teams meeting, a Skype, maybe it's your group chat. And to end, I just like to bold everything. And when you're going through the check-in, just make sure you're realistic and keeping yourself accountable.
Perfect. So this project management worksheet is really there to help you identify all the tasks in your project and then help you create that true timeline. And then you have this nice one-page document that you can print out. You could save to your desktop, have it really accessible so you don't miss out on any of your checkpoints and timelines.
Hey Bears! This video shows you how to use the study schedule worksheet to prep for an upcoming exam. So first, look over your syllabus for the format. Are you taking a multiple choice test with definitions, or do you need to be prepared with context and examples for short answer or essay? Knowing the format can help you be effective. Now, step one is about getting focused. Look over the feedback on your past exams and quizzes to see what you need to put more energy in. Then get the options. Studying is not an actual thing. We need to complete activities to study. So outline exactly what you'll be doing to practice with the material. Getting real means planning when and how long you will do that activity. Remember, some and soon are not part of the plan. And last, get your deadlines in order. If the test is next Wednesday, when do you need to start studying to allow enough time? Try to start 4 to 5 days in advance with 30-minute blocks multiple times a day so you don't cram and get burned out.
Right. And similar, the study schedule worksheet, if you go through and answer the questions, it's going to help you identify, okay, what do you need to focus on and study for? How much time do you need to plan out? What actually you're going to do to study? Because study itself is not an actual thing. We need to do actions to accomplish the studying, whether it's creating flashcards or writing practice essays or coming up with different examples and defining terms. Make sure you really get concrete with what are you doing to study and when are you going to study. Again, working backwards from the date of the exam to ensure you have plenty of time to review the material in nice short spurts, really reprocess it and not cram, the whole day before. Now I want to talk for just a moment about group projects. We can see in the project management example worksheet that it kind of outlined it for a group project. But just remember that these strategies, the tools that work for you on individual tasks will still work for your group projects too. And so bright spots, these are things that are helping us. They're helping us be successful. We want to emulate them. And so find the bright spots that help you be successful and then apply it to your group work. So for example, time blocking might look like a co-work session on Zoom or a time where you and your study group go to the library. And so co-work session on Zoom just means that you create a Zoom meeting and then you and your group all log in and decide this is when we're just going to work on it. You might need to collaborate, but also could be a time where you say, okay, one person, you're working on the intro, I'm working on section 1, this other person's working on section 2. We're just all going to hop on Zoom, mute our microphones and just type those sections. So that way you can all just have a nice designated block of time to work on it. Sticky notes, the sticky note method also can work for your group because there's a lot of apps out there. And so if you have any kind of to-do app, we can create buckets and organize people, then that can work really well and your whole group can share and collaborate. So one free one out there is Trello. And so you can create these nice little task buckets of, doing, done, in progress, need help on, and then actually write out the task and who is working on that. So don't forget these tools absolutely apply for group projects the same as they would your individual work. The big picture and the main takeaway about powering up your project and task management is really, spacing out and planning the work. Just make sure that you recognize how much time you need to complete it and then space it out, over a week to reduce the overall stress that you have, increase the number of times you're actually, working with and processing the information and allowing enough time for you to make progress on all of your tasks and all of your projects. Just a little bit every day, adds up to a lot of work accomplished by the end of the week. So create that timeline with the checkpoints that you're aiming to hit. It gives you a nice goal. So your writer, right? We want to direct the writer to exactly what it is we want to accomplish and do. And so creating these checkpoint timelines give your writer a really good sense of, by Wednesday, I need to have read pages 40 through 65. Boom, that's the goal. All right. Thank you so much for joining in this series number 2 of the Power Up Your Semester. So the first series was Power Plan, and that's with your power planning. We talked about starting with time-specific events. Make sure you get those down. That is your class times, your exam and project due dates. It's your family and friend events that can't be moved. It's all the things that are only happening on this specific time of day. You got to build your calendar around those. Then we take care of self-care time because we need to recharge, especially, in 2021. Make sure that you have that time to recharge, rejuvenate yourself, focus on your needs so you're extra powerful the rest of the time. And then you fill in your flex time last. So after you have your time-specific events, you've dedicated your self-care time. Everything else is that flex time where you're going to be filling in your project kind of power timeline, figuring out when it is you're going to study and read and do this and that. Today, we talked about power tasks, so identifying those checkpoints for your tasks and projects, and then finding the system that's going to help you keep track of your progress, whether it's blocking out time with a really flexible or a super structured method. Maybe use Pomodoros to measure, okay, I'm going to work on this project for 2 Pomodoros today. Or maybe you're using the sticky note method and kind of task switching. Just make sure you have a system to keep track of the work that you're doing and the projects and your tasks so nothing falls through the cracks. Now, the last episode in this series is going to be on powering up your mind. And we're really going to focus on shrinking those barriers to help you stay motivated and actually moving forward. So tune in and go Bears. Have a good semester. Let's power it up.